Hey everyone, it's time for me to varnish this abstract painting, and I'm going to use several strengths, if you will, of varnish. I have a kind of a medium gloss that I use, a very satin finish, and then a high gloss. And I use the high gloss for the areas that I really want to emphasize. Now I start out with a dry brush. I go through the painting, I kind of revisit some shapes as I might when I'm putting on this varnish, and think about where I want the very high gloss and then the medium and the very satin to land. I do know that I want to emphasize these smaller black pieces, but I'm not so worried about making this particularly shiny over here. I like these chips. Perhaps a few of those will catch some gloss, some high gloss. And then as far as the medium goes, it's really kind of through the rest of the painting. I want to knock back a little bit of the glare that's already on this large white shape. And then I'll use the satin for the very quiet areas. And you can see, I use this dry brush to visit before I put on the actual varnish. All right, so I have a small brush to use for the high gloss, and I really love Liquitex. Lots of people make varnish. I like the Liquitex brand a lot. And I'm just going to come in on top, and you can see where it just starts to brighten that up immediately. I'm not being overly precise with that. But it gives me a sense of these parts that I want to give a little more emphasis to. Now I said I wanted to pull this out a little bit, but I don't know if it's going to happen. It's kind of a dull red, which I love. I love the color of it, but it's not going to brighten it up the same way it would with a very obvious color like black. All right, where else do I want to shine things up a little bit? I like this area down here a lot. Looks like trees. And I use these shop towels to pick up the extra because I don't need it globbing up. Okay, nice. That gives us a nice extra emphasis to those black pieces and some of the blue chips in here. Awesome. Now on the satin, since it's going to cover a lot more ground, did I tell you about my trusty Talenti jars? If you love Talenti, hang on to these jars because they do amazing things. Since I won't be reusing any of that varnish after coming in and out of it, I now will use the lid. I can use the lid. It's all going to get rinsed off anyway. Hold this down a little bit. And when you drop in and watch what happens when you varnish, it's really just brings a really great life to the work. Because my piece here is so textural, I don't mind that there are some ridges and raises that happen. I just don't want it to glob up too much where it would possibly flake off. Now, I'm seeing, because I used some pastel, I actually need to take a spray fixative to a couple of these areas that I neglected to spray down. So I'll be right back. So I used this workable fixative on top of these areas that I used pastel sticks with. And now it's pretty well laid into. I'm not too worried about the extra dust that's coming off of that piece. I can actually put gloss medium on that pretty quickly and smush it down without going back and forth, and it'll be just fine. And how I do that is with another piece of tracing paper in just a moment. All right, still working now with this satin. I'll go around those areas, obviously, that I put high gloss on. And because this also was pastel, I'm going to try to just lay this in here a little bit without scrubbing it too much. And then just press it down. Because I don't want to lose that texture and I don't want to lose that movement that happened in there. Same thing with this lovely stripe. Just gently pressing that down. Smushing it in. There are lots and lots of layers of paint on here, so I really have to pay attention to, you know, what did I use in each of these sections. I know that sometimes it makes better sense. Like I really love this, to just put that medium right on top of it, come back with my tracing paper. Yes, it moved a little bit, but you can see through the paper that we really are putting it into and then I can go around the edges and pick up some of the extra. Varnishing is fun. It really adds to the texture. It adds to the feel of the whole thing. Things arise from this exercise that may not have been there before, like that orange stripe on that beige area, which is okay. Here's another area that I know is pastel that I want to preserve. And I'm not going to touch that, except to take up a little bit of the extra at the bottom. Just going to turn this around so I get this other area closer to me. One last hit with the tracing paper. Now that was a whole lot of extra. So I will take this paper towel. I always forget which way to put this paper towel so that it doesn't unroll while I do this. And I make one full pass. The rest of it will be what it's going to be, and then I can go back and fill in some areas or leave some blank spots that might show up as a result of being perfectly imperfect. I hope this was helpful. See you soon.